Alright guys, so I wanted to point out a couple things. One, in this build I thought I was going to end up using this, but this barrel nut takes a barrel nut wrench that I don't have, so I have to order it. So therefore I chose not to use it for the build that I was doing. Here you can see actually the build with that on there. This is a different Aero Precision one. I do have the barrel nut for. This is the gas block. You can see what that looks like. But I wanted to point it all out because, you know, she looks pretty. That was part of it. The other part that I want to point out is YouTube doesn't allow me to put links for parts in the comments down below. So I have, if you go down to the link below, that takes you to another video where I've got the same video posted, but it allows me to put links on that other system. So I'll show you, you can get the links there if you go to the link below to get your other video. Anyway, that's it for now. Particular one, I had to work to get the Carbine link because of COVID and so on. Anyway, we're going to open it up and show you what's in here. First thing they show you is the barrel measurement device. We'll show you how to use that in a minute. They're going to give you a set of instructions. I'm hoping, depending on which one you get, that you get the newer one. They're going to send you a sticker. Stickers are awesome. Now, I bought these, so keep in mind I didn't, they weren't giving me anything to do this. The first thing is the piston slat. This is the piston piece here on this end. But the rod is considered the op rod. Piston, the op rod, all one piece. Put it out of the way for a minute. You also will have the bolt carrier. You will need some other pieces for this, and we'll go into that in a minute. But there it is. You will get the gas block. Now you want to make sure the gas block is the right size diameter for your barrel. So when you buy a barrel, you have to know what your diameter is there. This particular one is a 0.75, I believe is what it is. Yep, 0.75, so 3/4 inch hole here. We'll get into that one more detail. Also in the box is a little rod, and this rod is designed to help you install. Little rod. It's a tool we're not going to use, but it helps you install this little bushing right here. It's in the bag. It also comes with a spring. The spring would actually, you'd slide this onto the op rod. It tells you right here it's not necessary for operation, and I'm not going to install it on this particular one. So you'll see what I'm talking about, how I'm not going to use these pieces. So the tool and the pieces that are not necessary, I'm going to set them aside, and we're not going to worry about them right now. They also come with, if I can get it out of here, 2 Allen wrenches. Those 2 Allen wrenches go for adjustments and tightening it down and everything. That's what you'll need. You'll want to keep those when you're done, even, because this will let you make the adjustments while you're at the range to finish this up. But we'll get to that. Alright guys, I've got the gun apart right now. You're going to see this is the barrel. It just slides in here. We'd put some anti-seize in there. We'd put our barrel nut on in this case. We'd torque it down to the required torque for this and so on, but that is not what we're worried about. What we want to do is we want to know, Superlative Arms gives us a little gauge here that's going to tell us whether this barrel will work. So we're going to take this barrel nut when this would go on top of that. Not putting it on there right now. So my barrel, this is designed, it says barrel extension shoulders right there. You're actually going to touch it to that. and you're going to make sure that your gas port will fit within these two lines here, and I'll show you in a second, a little closer up on it. But these two lines, we're going to make sure that it fits there, and we're all good. So we'll look at that a little closer. Alright, so let's look at this a little closer. So if this goes up against there where it says barrel extension shoulder, it's right there, it touches that. When it does, you come down here, I'm in carbine length, which is, there you go, you can see that. And it falls, that hole has to fall between those two lines, and it does. So that's what we're looking for. That tells me that this barrel will work with a Superlative arm system. If it does not fall within those lines on the piston length, the carbine length, mid length, all of these, they give you, all of this is in the same little folded piece of paper. They fold it up for you, give it to you. Anyway, if it doesn't fall within there, you could break your op rod, you could really hurt your weapon. So you want to make sure that you do this step before you get too deep into this project. And I think that Superlative Arms has said that they'll even drill your barrel if they have to. If you send it in, I'm sure they'd charge you and so on. But chances are you can find a barrel that's going to fit. So the next part we're going to go into is you have the bolt carrier group, but you have no bolt. You have no, well, of course there's no gas system, because this is where your piston here is going to fit in there like so and push that system away, and every time the gas goes through, but we'll get into that a little bit. The next thing we're going to need though is the parts to finish this. That's what we're going to start with next. Alright, the pieces that you're going to need, like I said, to complete your bolt carrier group, you're going to need a firing pin, you're going to need a cam pin, you're going to need the bolt assembly, and you're going to need a firing pin retainer pin. And we'll start taking these out of the bags. I'll leave a message at the bottom to give you links to how to find these things. We'll get there in just a second. Alright, so here they are, magic of stopping apparently and starting again. Your firing pin retainer pin, the bolt assembly, and the cam pin that you're going to need. That's all going to go in here, and we're going to show you how to do that right now. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your bolt assembly and you're going to put it in your bolt carrier group. It goes in like this. You see how this has gives you a there's a ledge on this side, there's not one on this side, so you want to make sure this is facing the same side as your SA. It's also going to be the same side as your ejection port on your upper receiver. So you're going to put that in, you're going to be able to see down in there where that hole is, see there? Then you're going to drop this cam pin right down in there. And when you get that cam pin in there, lay this over, and in here, which you can't see very well I guess, but in there, right there, I'm going to drop the firing pin point side down all the way down in there. Now, I don't know if you noticed, I'll take that back out for a second to show you this. The cam pin has a hole in the middle of it. There you go. Hole in the middle. And that cam pin has the firing pin. We'll slide that there and show you that too. Oops, get down a little lower. The firing pin actually slides through that, and it's able to move freely inside the cam pin, inside everything. Alright, so we're going to put that back in. We're going to put the firing pin in. See me sticking it down in there like so. Once it's in, then you're going to take your firing pin retainer pin. Make sure that your firing pin is flush with it. Notice that. Okay, it's down in there all the way. There you go, flush with it like so. Then there's a hole right there. See that right there? You're going to put that in. You're going to probably have to wiggle it a little bit to get it to go in. It should when we're done. Hang on just a second, we'll get her in there. See if we can figure out what's going on to get that in there. There we go. Now you'll notice it kind of pulls apart a little bit, and that's very normal. That's also what holds it in there real good. So it also what makes it a little tough to get in there, because you got to get it past the firing pin. All right, hang on a second. All right, so occasionally when you're trying to get this one in, you may have to go down through here, as I'm doing it, and push that up just ever so slightly, because I said they were separated, and then it sits in there like that. You'll notice it's in there, everything stays in place, firing pin does not fall out. I mean, it's in there, but it will move, or it should move freely like this. Now, one of the things that I didn't show you when I was doing this is that you have the option, and I'll show you, I'll pull this back out. So if I'm going to pull this out, grab a hold of that, pull this pin, like so. Then we'll pull the firing pin out, like so. Right, pull the cam pin out, pull this out. You'll notice right here, I have removed all of the gas rings on here because this is not needed in this system. The gas rings can add a little friction, cause you problems, but you don't have to. You can leave them in there if you want. You can, and you can adjust as needed if you need to. Okay, put that back together. Of course, it doesn't want to go in again, so I'm going to do exactly what I did last time, and we'll shove that up into place. It slides right in there. So now, if you do that, it should slide freely. Anyway, there you go. Alright, so let's try this. Let's get into this gas port. The gas port system is set up in such a way that you won't see it right here. So fully closed, I'll show you what it looks like out here. We'll do a magnifier to show you the inside here in a minute. But that's fully closed. It will come from the factory like this. Alright. So you want to be aware of that. Now, this comes out. Right? What that does is this, you'll note that there's a hole right here, and you'll notice there's a ball right there. Well, that hole and that ball will both need to be facing down when you've got everything working. That also corresponds with the front here. You'll notice it touches right here by the ball, but it doesn't touch up here. That tells you that you're now in the right position to do what you got to do. So you're going to go there, put it in all the way. Now, I will point out that 4.5 turns, so it's going to look like this when it's properly ready to shoot. Okay, can you see that? Yeah. There you go. It's going to look like that. Anyway, when this is pulled out 4.5 full turns, the first 4.5 turns are a restrictive on the hole right there. It's going to just restrict. It's got a bar that goes through there with a screw thread. When it gets done, when it gets out past 4.5, that's when it uses this port right here. This little hole right there, right? Uses that port, and any extra gas it ports out, but you have to be more than 4.5 turns out. So at 5 turns, you can see that that's what's going to happen. You're going to have these you're going to be able to get gas. So if you're over gassing, you can pull it out a little further and port some of that out the front, which is kind of a neat idea. But the first 4.5 turns, it's only the restrictive on the hole. We'll show the video for that in a minute, but so you can see how that's going to go. The only other thing I want to show you in here is, and we'll take this back out, when you go to build this, you're going to end up with the rod. Note the pistons on the end here, like so. It's going to fit like that into there, and then this is going to go back in. Makes it a little easier. So you're just going to start working with it, and we'll deal with that in a minute. But I wanted you to see that this thing should turn freely. Should turn freely even when it's in the gun. And you'll see that more and more. We'll get into that shortly. Thanks. Alright, so I'm trying to get this focused here, but I want to explain this. There is a first 4.5 turns of your adjustment for your gas piston here. You have an air adjustment at the front, and that first 4.5 turns is going to be, and you'll see it here in just a second, is going to be just a restrictive setup. As I turn this one full turn, it goes to about a quarter open. Okay, you see me turning, there you go. And you're seeing down into, this is the bottom of the gas block. This is what would actually be laying right up against your barrel. If I turn it another one full turn, it gives you about half open. And if I go another full turn, it goes 3/4 open. Another full turn takes you to almost open, as you'll see here. But it's just a little bit, and you go another half turn to get rid of the rest of that. That, up until you do 4.5 turns, it turns out this is a just restrictive. Once you go past that, you go 5, 5.5, 6, whatever, you tend to have more of a, you have blowback. Extra gases go out the front. So excess gas goes out the front at that. One of the things I want to talk about, I've got an Aero Precision handguard. And the handguard's got a nut. Let me make sure we're getting a good focus on this here. Anyway, the nut has these holes in it. And what I want to check, put it up there so you can see it. What I want to check is I want to make sure that my piston fits through the hole, so slides through without any trouble. Because that is going to be how we're running that, right? The piston has to run through there. So we've got to check that first. Alright, so I've got an Aero Precision handguard here. And I'm going to use the nut that goes with it, and I got to make sure that my piston fits in, slides through without any problem. That's going to be an issue. So I've got to make sure, I'm going to use the shims and stuff to make sure this lines up with my gas port hole on my upper, and that way everything slides together and we're all good. Alright, so now we've got the barrel nut stuck on here. We've got it torqued properly as necessary. I'm not going into that part of it. That's not what we're here for. But this particular barrel nut doesn't have anything that's encumbering what would be the gas port into the upper receiver. So we're not going to have to worry about making sure that it's clocked properly for that setup. You might have to do that depending on what you're using. Now, my gas block, right? You know, something like that. Anyway, my gas block with my piston in it already. I've already tightened this down here so I'm good and tight. Alright, this slides in and out. I'm going to put this to its setting, which should be right here. You'll notice what that looks like. Hopefully, we'll maybe turn it this way and see if you, there you go. Anyway, the gas port, you want it to be straight up and down. You want the open side to the bottom. This is closed right now because it comes from the factory that way. We'll unscrew it as we need to. We've already shown you how to do that. Just put, and they come with 2 Allen wrenches to help you do that. So, and it also, the same Allen wrench that goes here also fits in the Torx bits. The Torx bits that come with this. I took all 3 of the Torx bit screws out so that I could fit it on here. If it doesn't fit on here, the manufacturer recommends putting a little bit of oil on this and in here so that you can get a good slide onto it. You can try that. We're going to slide it on and see how it goes. It's going to go up here. There's a couple different ledges that you can see here. On this particular one, I want to make sure I hit the gas port here for the upper receiver. Slide it in, and there we are. So now I want to move it back and forth. If I go too far, it's not going to be, you can't rotate this, you'll notice. If I go too far the other way, you can't rotate this. You want to try to find that happy medium in the middle, and there you go. When it slides and rotates easily, and you've got it up against here, you can do that. Now, in my case, I may want to work on this a little bit to make sure this is exactly right. Then I'm going to tighten these screws down. Okay, if I'm going to tighten these screws down, I've got the Allen wrench that has a little ball that fits into this one, but it also has the Torx bit to fit these screws on this end. So it's a different end here than it is up here. But it comes with the Superlative Arms piston system. Hold on to those screws, and I'll be right back once we get these put in. Alright, this is the clamp-on size type of piston. They also have the set screw one, but this is the clamp-on one. The clamp-on one, screws are going to go in from this side, that direction. Remember, this is your muzzle of your gun, of course your upper receiver. So it's going to go in that direction, and it's going to be tightened down. They should be tightened down to 30 inch-pounds each. And you want to make sure that you go through these and make sure they're all 30 inch-pounds. Once you get them good and 30 inch-pounds, you're good to go on this portion. Alright, so with this, with your gas block loose still where it'll slide, we're actually going to put the bolt carrier group, the BCG, into the gun. Lift it up, we're going to raise up the T-handle, going to slide it down in here, tighten that up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set this here. Make sure your gas port or your ejection port's open. We're going to push this in all the way. We're going to see if this slides any. So, this push here, it shouldn't slide any. If it doesn't slide, it's still up against there, then you're in the right spot. This should still rotate with it all the way in. You want it flush with the top here. I assume you can see that. Let's see, can we see that? Nope, can't really see that. So we'll take it off here and give you a good idea what I'm talking about. So with it flush here, and this is still flush, you should still be able to rotate this. It may be a little tight, but it's still going to be rotating. Okay, so that means everything's good. You're in the right spot. We'll know more when we go to test fire it, of course, but this should get us really close, especially if you did the measurement for your gas block in the first place. That tells you that where your hole's going to be. Make sure it's within the parameters. Alright, so here's a final look at it with the gas block in, my rail on. My rail's not tight yet, but it's on there to show that what it'll look like when I'm done. This particular one I believe is a 7-inch rail, So that on a carbine length barrel, gives you a general idea of what you're looking at with that kind of a gun. I hope this works for you. I hope you had a good time with it, as much as I did. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you later. Here we go. We're going to shoot this thing and see how it does. Alright, that's awesome. Cold open actually also happened when we did the shooting here, so that tells me that it's got full deflection. Now we might have a little bit of brass touch in here, it looks like, maybe, so I might have to even turn it down a little bit, but that's done with just that same gas port there, the same Allen wrench to that small one there. We'll tighten it down, make it a little smaller, and then get rid of some of that gas. Or you can go forward and try to let the excess gas go out the port in the front and try that.